Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Washington Outsider Report on the Coalition Radio. With you today is, as always, Irina Tsukuman. That's me. I'm the editor in chief of the Washington Outsider, and Mr. Ahmed Obali from Gunas TV. Today, we'll be discussing a very hot button issue, the recent escalation in tensions between Iran and Azerbaijan. Various Iranian officials had accused Baku of harboring Zionists on the border with Iran. All of that comes amidst other interesting developments, namely attempted assassinations against Israeli businessmen in Colombia and Cyprus. Mr. Bali, thank you and welcome to the show. You're in Baku currently, correct?
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I am in Baku, that's correct.
So you have the view right from the area about the current situation. Um, Before we get into the meat of things, just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your TV station, to introduce to our audiences.
Well, thank you. I am originally from South Azerbaijan, which is a currently northwest part of Iran. Uh, Very close. I was born and brought up very close to the border of the Republic of Azerbaijan and Iran. That is Aras River. That's where the all the tensions are right now high in the area. Both sides of the Aras River is populated by Azerbaijanis. The northern part is Republic of Azerbaijan. Southern part is the province of East Azerbaijan, and there's a province of West Azerbaijan. There's province of Ardabil, Gazvin, Zanjan, Hamadan. At least six provinces are populated mostly by Azerbaijanis. The number of Azerbaijanis in Iran are 30 million. About a third of the population of Iran is Azerbaijanis. I am from there. I escaped prison in 1982, and after 4 years in Europe, traveled around. Finally, I found home in the United States in late 1985, and I've been in Chicago since early 1986, living there, and I started this broadcast that's called Gunas TV, or a shorter version of South Azerbaijan. And we concentrate on human rights, democracy, basically freedom. We try to to at least we bring awareness to our population, which is sort of under pressure, additional pressure from the government, because our culture is banned, the language is banned in school. We cannot go to school in Iran in our own language. We have to only study in Persian and so forth. So these are human rights violations that we concentrate on our television. We've been on air since 2000, late 2004, early 2005 on satellite, and we are a 24 hours broadcasting station, and we basically broadcast in Azerbaijani language, but we also broadcast in Arabic for Arab viewers in southern part of Iran, in Persian as well to Persian speakers at least once a week.
I was actually in the very area you just described on the Azerbaijani side, near Aras River in February while I was touring the liberated territories in Azerbaijan only a few months after the Second Karabakh War. I saw the famous bridge that symbolizes the relations between the two sides of the river. And at the time, things seemed relatively calm. But during the war, Iran was already making certain comments that seemed to be indicate some sort of support for the Armenian side. There were rumors and videos of Azerbaijan moving vehicles into the border areas at the time. After the war, things seem to have calmed down, and yet recently, before these recent comments, um, it seems the escalation seems to have returned with the rumors of Iran moving illicit materials into liberated territories jointly with Yerevan. What
Mm.
exactly is going on with that? Who is actually responsible
Well,
for the movement of these goods and why?
okay. Well, first of all, the escalation in relations between Iran and Azerbaijan is has a deep history that goes back at least to um, to the time when Azerbaijan regained its independence from Soviet Union again in 1992. In 1992, Iran was playing a mediator role between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And in early May 1992, when Iran was in process of chairing a mediation council in Tehran, Armenians took the famous city of Shusha away from Azerbaijan. So then Azerbaijan found out later that Iran was kind of playing mediator role, but actually buying time for Armenians behind the scenes for them to take more territories. And then, of course, that so-called mediation, but also at the same time helping Armenia continued. And the reason Iran, as a Shia and Muslim country, helps Armenia versus Shia and Muslim Azerbaijan is because of few reasons. One is Iran does not want a strong Azerbaijan. Iran doesn't want a Republic Azerbaijan to begin with because there are more Azerbaijanis in Iran that we inspire from. Um, we get more hope from the existence of Republic of Azerbaijan, and then Iran is aware of this. So Iran helped Armenia to occupy more territories from Azerbaijan by at least openly bringing Russian arms through Iran, sending it to Armenia. But later on, we also found out that Iran was giving Armenian tanks and artillery more ammunitions. Iran was on the surface trying to help Azerbaijan train its military that didn't have at the time of the breakup of Soviet Union. But Azerbaijan found out later that the trainers were actually collecting all the information and about Azerbaijani army and passing it to Armenian side. So the relations went down, but Iran is a big country, a strong country, and Azerbaijan is a small sandwich between Russia from north, Iran from south. Both countries didn't have good relationship with Azerbaijan. Russia didn't want Azerbaijan to go fully independent. Russia wanted Azerbaijan to be like Armenia, sort of a vassal state to Russia. So Russia was pressuring Azerbaijan. Iran was pressuring Azerbaijan. Armenia from the east took over 20% of Azerbaijani territory. So Azerbaijan was kind of forced to at least uh, keep his eyes closed and play like, okay, nothing happened from Iranian side. But until recently, in 2020, when Azerbaijan took the area back, then Iran lost all the influence that it had. So Iran has not been happier. Actually, it's been angrier since Azerbaijan took over its occupied territories and cleared about 130 kilometers of landline that was under Armenian occupation and right across from Iranian border. So Armenia lost the war. Iran got upset because Iran is losing strategically. Iran is losing financially. Iran is losing in terms of regional influence. So Iran is not happy. So what Iran did is after the war, Iran kept sending materials, goods to not only to Yerevan or Armenia, but also through Armenia to part of the occupied land that is still under Russian control, Russian peacekeepers' control, populated by Armenians within Azerbaijan. So that's the part that that kind of uh, not only took Azerbaijanis by surprise, although Azerbaijanis knew that Iran was sending all those materials to arms and materials to Armenia and the occupied parts of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan thought that after the Second Karabakh War, Iran would change its policy, but recently they found out that that's not the case. So Iran charged part of the road from Iran through Armenia to Yerevan goes through recently liberated Azerbaijani land. So this big road highway was built during the Soviet Union, where Armenia and Azerbaijan both were part of the Soviet Union, and so it didn't really matter where the road goes through. So, but after the independence, part of the road becomes part of the Azerbaijani territory. So all the trucks and goods that Iran is sending to Armenia partially goes through Azerbaijani land. So Azerbaijan started charging taxes to Iranian trucks, especially Azerbaijan got upset when they found that some of those trucks were actually taking military equipment, materials, gasoline, and so forth to a city called Khankandi in Azerbaijan that is part of Azerbaijan, but Armenians call it Spanakert, which is the center of the so-called that disputed area that Azerbaijan and the whole world considers as part of Azerbaijan. So, and then two of those truck drivers were arrested, and Iran was surprised that Azerbaijan actually arrested Iranian truck drivers. So this started the whole thing, but there are more behind the scene why Iran is upset about recent Azerbaijan's behavior.
What else do you think is causing these issues? Because to most of the world, this came out of the blue. They did not expect the sudden uh, renewal in tensions and hostilities. So what are some of the other factors that are contributing to this issue? And did Iran really expect to get away with moving goods through Azerbaijani territories with no penalty? I mean, that's a violation of the country's sovereignty. No one
International
usually
law,
just
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
I mean,
That's a
not that
violation of
Iran
international
particularly
law,
cares about
violation
it,
of
but still.
yeah, yeah. Well, Azerbaijan, as a sovereign state, has the right to have any relationship with any country it chooses. Azerbaijan has the right to control its territory that is recognized by, ironically, Iran recognizes Azerbaijan's territorial integrity. But then when Azerbaijan tries to take care of its territory, Iran becomes upset. This is the issue, the main issue, one of the main issues. But Iran is having other issues, as you asked and I mentioned before. One of the issues that Iran has with Azerbaijan is the relationship between Israel and Azerbaijan. Iran is not happy about it and openly talks about the fact that, as they call it, Zionists, as they have come so close to Iranian borders, which is surprising to me because Israel and Azerbaijan had good relationship from beginning, and why now? Why are they bringing this up now? I think one of the reasons is because Iran recognizes the fact that the newly liberated area, Irina, as you saw, right on the other side of the border, right on the north side of the Aras River, is very big area. It's 130 kilometers wide that Azerbaijan has access that which didn't have access before, and Iran thinks that Israelis and Americans, Western countries that Iran doesn't like will have access to that area for information gatherings and so forth. But the problem is there is not a single person in those liberated areas. It's all mined with landmines, and
Mhm.
and you saw, Irina, when you went there. There was only few, maybe 20, 30 meters wide area that you can travel to, and other than that, you couldn't go to any other parts of the region. So Iran is using this as an excuse that Israelis are taking over Azerbaijani land. Azerbaijan doesn't need any other country's armed forces to control its territory. Azerbaijan has a very strong army, as it was proven in 44 days. Azerbaijan basically annihilated Armenian army, and they capitulated on November 10th. So, but Iran, first of all, Iran is not happy about Azerbaijani-Israeli relations. Iran is not happy about the fact that the new corridor that after the agreement will open the communication routes that will open between Nakhchivan and the mainland Azerbaijan that goes through Armenia, will open the road, open the communication to Turkey and beyond Europe to Israel and to Central Asia to China. And if Iran loses leverage because until then, all the land communication between Azerbaijan and Nakhchivan and Turkey was going through Iran. So Azerbaijan and Turkey are becoming stronger in the region, and they're gaining more influence, and Iran is losing influence, and Iran is in effect has been kicked out of South Caucasus and doesn't really know what to do. A third problem that Iran has is the fact that as Turkey and Azerbaijan gets stronger, so does so Armenia and Iran is getting weaker. Turkey and Azerbaijan influences the region far more, and this also inspires South Azerbaijanis, us in Iran, to perhaps ask for more rights and maybe self-determination, maybe federalism, maybe in the future, maybe a independent country, as our numbers are far bigger than the Republic of Azerbaijan. So Iran is aware of all these facts and doesn't really know what to do. They're angry. All they do is reactionary, bringing armed forces to the border, having military exercises, tanks and artillery, helicopters, and all of that. They thought that Azerbaijan is going to back down, and that didn't happen. Actually, Azerbaijan got angry and responded, protested with anger, and Iran thought that the South Azerbaijanis will be quieter at the moment at this time, and that's not happening. Our population mostly from Iran supports Republic of Azerbaijan. That is making Iran more angry. So as they get angrier, they do unpredictable things. They react very unprofessionally, calling names and trying to belittle Azerbaijan, and that backfires on them as well. So Iran absolutely behaving very irresponsibly on this issue. Azerbaijan behaves responsibly. Azerbaijan has all the rights to control its roads. Azerbaijan has the right to choose its friends and relationship with its friends. Strategic alliance with Israel is important to Azerbaijan. Buying arms from Israel buying energy from Azerbaijan. These are relationships that is should be left to countries themselves. Iran should not interfere in Azerbaijan's internal or external relations, and Iran keeps doing it, does not accept the fact that Azerbaijan has become a very strong independent country.
Now, you mentioned that Iran is losing economic and political leverage in the region. Interestingly enough, just as it seems to be losing its footing in South Caucasus, Iran has joined with Russia, China, and a number of Arab states, as well as Central Asian states, in a dialogue group, which hasn't received much coverage in Western media, but is worth noting precisely because Russia and China are leading that particular effort, and they are leading an effort to unite Central Asian states, and Iran is now part of that geopolitical new bloc. How does Azerbaijan view this situation that with Iran's growing closeness to those two countries? Because Russia and Azerbaijan have had a very complicated relations over the years, and these sort of dialogue groups and blocs and are clearly an effort to offset Western influence in the region and clearly to strengthen key strategic countries towards those two states. How is that going to affect these current events, in your opinion?
Well, the Central Asian states were part of Soviet Union before. They are still so-called under Russian influence area. Uh, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia on this part of the Caspian Sea are trying to, other than Armenia, at least Georgia and Azerbaijan are trying to be independent of Azerbaijan of Russia. They are part of the non-aligned movement. Armenia has a strategic alliance with Russia and Iran. So Iran is trying to go to Central Asia, but the problem with that is the Central Asian countries they do not trust Iran, and I think Russia doesn't trust Iran either. If you look at what happened in Syria, where Iran spent billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars, they sent army units, they sent the IRGC force, Quds force, they sent um, recruitment from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, all the Shiites from Pakistan and Afghanistan, from Iraq. They recruited a lot of people from Syria, pro Assad people from Syria, and trained them. So they spend a lot of money and time and effort. But Russia came in